Hey, this is Steve Wood, your captured German scientist, talking about LS7's. They're a very special LS7 and something you should do to your LS7 if it's new out of the crate, or even if it's an old junkyard motor or a rebuild or whatever. Which construction that has a hot cam in it and does not have a dry sump, which is a little different for me because I like the dry sump motors. But this is a great hot rod LS7. So when we have motors in the shop, we always cover them in a nice plastic bag. Costco actually has a lawn and garden bag that is, there we go. Has a lawn and garden bag that will cover most small block Fords and Chevys. This bag is from Moroso. Summit Racing also has some. Very important to keep dirt and nasties off your motor. So this particular video is about pre-lubing. So we've done a couple of things here, and I'm going to point, and John's going to do a close-up on one of the illustrations that's in the guide. And basically, on page 2 of the LS motor instruction sheet from GM, they have this view, and you'll notice that this view looks a lot like that view. Coincidence? I think not. Basically, what you have is a Allen type plug that covers one of the oil galleys inside the LS7, has an Allen key in there, and takes quite a bit of force to break that loose. And what that uncovers is a 16 millimeter hole, and they have the thread spec in there. It's I think it's 16M by 1.5, and basically you have to plug an adapter in to that and then be able to force oil. So there's a lot of different pre-lubers out there. If you look at the GM instructions, they have a plastic pre-luber with like a hand pump, and that can be had from many of the motor suppliers, and many of the auto parts houses have those. We bought one from Summit Racing. Also All-Star sells them, and a lot of people sell them. They're anywhere from $150 to $200 for a good mid-range one. You're going to be spending a couple of bucks on some fittings and hoses and things. And the important part about this is to fill it with good oil, in which case GM Performance recommends 15W50 Mobile 1 for the LS motors. And I've got some right here, front view, side view. Basically, you'll notice that the civilian car or the consumer car calls for 5W30. But the motorsports guys like 15W50. Why is that? So heavier oil in the motorsports engines just makes sense. Your high performance engine and things, they'll be a little more consumptive of fuel. They will soak up a little bit more fuel during operation with a thicker oil, especially when cold. But absolutely no reason why you can't run a 15W50 in your performance LS. And so we'll trick to a montage of us filling this up and making a mess. There you go.
If you got like 5 quarts in there, you might have to do it 2 or 3 times to empty the whole thing.
Okay. So basically, to wrap up the pre-lubing, we've tapped into the engine itself and the oil galleries itself. We put a 5-quart container of Mobil 115W50 in the tank. We still got a little bit left in the tank, but we've pumped most of it in there. Basically, what you do is you connect your air source, bring this up to about 100 psi, and then release the oil out of the container. And remember, the valve is usually, if it's crossing the line, the direction of the line, that means it's off, and that means it's putting pressure out. It still has a little residual pressure, and you may have to fill it up with air a couple of different times to get all the oil from the container to actually get into the engine. And just because you've used a 5-quart container doesn't mean the engine's full, because all the oil galleries and all the oil passages in it add up to various particular sizes of cavities, and so it may take another couple of quarts to bring it up to a level. On the LS427, they have a Camaro style dipstick, and we'll check the oil right now. We're getting very little oil at the end. So I would say we're probably about maybe 2 quarts down from being full. And that's expected because even though it's a 5 or a 6 quart system and we pumped 5 quarts in, those galleries are a lot of space, and usually you don't evacuate that on a full oil change. So I hope this video has been helpful. You can comment, subscribe, do all the interweb stuff down below, and tell me I'm wrong when you're living in your mother's basement. But anyway, hope this has been helpful, and hope this saves at least one LS from things. It's not that hard to do. You should always pre-lube if it's a rebuild or if it's a new engine. Even if it's a junkyard engine, still it would be a good idea to pump some fresh oil in there before you try to start it. Save those bearings and save metal to metal contact where you can. This is Steve Wood from Panavia signing off.